If you put all the rest of Fjord Trends 2020 together, life-centered design is a response inevitably you realize that design is having to come up with now to those big realignment of the fundamentals that we've talked about in our meta theme. Life-centered design represents a big evolution on from user-centered design, which has been a mantra for the industry for the last 25 years or more. Why? Because increasingly that remorseless focus on one user as the recipient of the designs and the value of the designs is having to change. And increasingly the idea of user-centered design will look too self-centered in its objective around that single user. We have to look beyond that and look across the range of life and the range of things that are happening in the ecosystem of humans and how we're designed for that now. So user-centered design has had this kind of holy trinity of things that we look for, which everyone is aware of: desirability, feasibility, viability. Life-centered design actually goes down exactly the same route. We just have to reinvent what we mean in this context. So we're seeing changes already in desirability. Desirability is all about, why should I want this thing that I'm interacting with or buying? And we're seeing clear and early signals emerge from some specific industries. It's happening in food, it's happening in beauty, and it's happening in financial services. The second part of the trinity, feasibility, is all about, can we actually make this? Is this something which we can operationally make and deliver into the market? So a really good example of a company that's done some redefinition around that is Sarthi. Sarthi are making sanitary towels which are 100% biodegradable and are made from banana fiber. So what they're doing is they're attacking the issue of feasibility in order to solve a specific problem. Other examples of companies which are addressing the issue of feasibility are Unilever, for example, with their refillable product service Loop, and also Stuffster, who are a resale company. The third of these is viable. Viable means it's all very well being desirable and feasible, but can we actually make money out of this? Some great examples of companies which are thinking differently about viable. Dr. Martens have delivered into the market a boot suitable for vegans. We've seen Dr. Martens' profits grow recently by 70%. And then Snøhetta, an architectural firm whose new showcase building creates twice the amount of power for the local community than it consumes. So what does this mean in practical terms? First of all, it means designers are going to have to be extremely sensitive to trends across ecosystems and how those affect the trinity of desirability, feasibility, and viability. Secondly, we're going to have to think much more, and we will hear a lot more about this over the next 2 or 3 years, about systems design and taking on a lot of the principles of systems design, which is there to deal with complexity, into the way in which we conceive of and design the products and services that we go about building. Thirdly, we're going to have to build on personal and collective values. Ever since we started designing things as humans, we've built in layers of abstraction, and all the more so recently. Initially, if you were designing a chair or a table or a piece of furniture, then you were working directly on the object itself. But with digital, we've built in layers of abstraction. Now we have a new layer of abstraction coming, which is that we have to think about the entire system around the product or service and how what we're building will interact with that system. That is at the core of the shift that we're talking about here, from user-centered design to life-centered design. The design consequence of all the things that we're talking about in Fjord Trends 2020.